Welcome back, everyone, to another Company Affairs 2 replay cast. And this time, we're gonna have a 2v2 on Minsk Pocket. Everybody loves this map, and yeah, our players are gonna be Capon97, the glorious famous noob. Of course, he's back. His buddy's gonna be Doggy Lols, who's also a streamer, I believe. And the opponents, well, Jade, Buddha, and Insane Hoshi, two pretty good players. So, let's get this right started. Okay, he's already going for support weapons. Okay, well, Minsk Pocket, in case you've forgotten, relatively choke pointy map, narrow, annoying victory points with annoying houses, especially this house is very annoying. And of course, the fuels, relatively safe to the base, but there's a pretty easy cutoff. Well, maybe not pretty easy, but relatively easy cutoff that you can cut for both sides. Okay, introduction over. Let's go over. We see some action. Let's see some Stern Pioneers just forcing away those poor combat engineers. Of course, with 2 OKW around, in the early game we can see some nice tricks coming through with the Stern Pioneers and maybe some Cube Wagons, although no Cube Wagons yet. But the Soviets overall are going to have the advantage. As you can see, the conscripts getting some pretty good shots off on these Sturm Piles, but the Sturm Piles get close and probably are going to win this. Nah, they're not going to win this fight. This is just very, very even. And up here, combat engineers somehow pushing up. Doing quite well, but yeah, at close range, these Sturm Pioneers will probably just win. And another combat engineer squad, that's a second one, of course, because both Soviet players are going with tier 2. And that means that actually Capon97 went for a double engineer, which is never really my favorite as Soviets, but it's gonna come in useful later. We'll see. We'll see if it does. And yeah, it looks like the North, I mean, the Soviets can pressure Insane Hoshi, and well, they can do some damage, but I don't think they're gonna be able to capture this fuel point or anything like that. And in the south, it seems like a very similar situation is happening with the OKW just kind of pressuring, but the Soviets are gonna try to hold around the fuel point, although it's not working quite as well for them as it is for the OKW. As you can see, the Maxim can't really cover everything, and the conscripts themselves are losing these fights relatively hard to the folks. So the folks are going to have a pretty good advantage. They're going to charge in, and a pretty good flank on the machine gun is going to mean that the machine gun has to escape out of there. Although there is a second Maxim, the first one, rather the first Grenadier squad gets suppressed by the Maxim, and the second one will set up, although it kind of derps around, and that's gonna allow these Folks Grenadiers more time to get around. But a burst comes off, it's not enough to suppress them, and incendiary grenade goes off, it fails. It's just such a mess. I have no idea what's going on, but yeah, the Maxim will be able to set up in time and probably suppress these guys. But still, lots of lots of damage coming through on the Soviets, and yeah, even the cutoff is going to be decapped. So I would say that the Germans were fighting on the Soviet turf, and they were able to get some good damage on them, so that's pretty okay. And up here, the Maxim is not in a good way, surrounded by a lot of Volksgrenadiers. Will decide, probably wisely, to get out. Although the second Maxim, it's trying to get into this building, might not be the best of ideas, because what just happened to this Maxim will likely happen to this Maxim as well. So, and it's he's trying to build sandbags to block him off from escaping. That's an interesting idea. Of course, this will mean that the Maxim has to escape through here. Even though there was a thing of barbed wire, he was able to escape, it seems. That was not enough. And yeah, so the Axis looking pretty good, to be honest. Pushing up on both sides. Sorry, took a sip. And yeah, essentially what's going on is that these glorious Volksgrenadiers have been microed pretty well. They've been having good positioning on their side, good usage of incendiary grenades, and good flanks on the MGs. So far, that's allowed the Germans to push up against a very sort of Maxim-focused Soviet strategy from the tier 2, of course. Yet more Maxims. I mean, we have 4 of them. Actually, no, 5 of them on both sides, rather both Soviet players. So that's pretty strong, especially on a map like Minsk Pocket. So they're gonna have a lot of sort of arc of fire coverage. They're gonna be able to cover most of one side or the other. However, if the Germans can continue kind of playing as aggressively as they are, they can get around them and put some good damage off. And of course, with battle headquarters coming in for Insane Hoshi, he's gonna have support guns. He's got 620 manpower saved up. In fact, he's only got 3 infantry squads and his starting Sturm Pioneer. So that means that KP97 with his pretty superior force at the moment is able to push him back. But yeah, he was saving up for something, and that something is a flak half-track and an MG. Okay, I can see the MG and I can see the flak half-track as well. Those are going to be 2 very, very decent little units as anti-infantry. The problem is, how much longer is that going to be relevant for? Because if the Soviets get a tier 3, which they can right now, they can get a lot of counters to that. Flak half-track, and they can also go for an anti-tank gun. None of them so far have been doing that, but still. Nice coming in, Jade Buddha coming in and helping out his friend over here, getting a nice incendiary grenade on the Maxim. However, there's also a sort of helping force coming in from Doggy He's gonna come in, and unfortunately the machine gun does go down, but with these guards and these engineers, I don't think they're gonna be able to steal it. In fact, it's the conscripts that are getting in here, and they're probably gonna take it. Yeah, can they take it? No, they cannot, because another incendiary grenade comes in and finishes them off. In the meantime, the VP situation is rather even, so that's kind of representing this back and forth. And other than that, I think that the Soviets are going to win this engagement only just, but they might lose a Maxim. Can they take it down? No, they cannot, and the crew will escape back to safety. That's pretty good for the Germans. It's a good catch. They've already got their own machine gun set up, MG34, so having the Maxim will be good to support that one. And right now, that's going to allow them a little bit of a jumping off position. Yet more anti-infantry coming through, a support gun, and of course the flak half-track is on the field. So we'll see how the flak half-track can operate. Doggy is of course going with mechanized support. Very, very strong doctrine, and it's allowing him to have Guards Riflemen. Guards Riflemen, of course, pretty decent against the flak half-track in terms of just damage, but they need to watch out because of course if they just get suppressed, they're not going to have an easy time. And as soon as the flak half-track revealed itself, Doggy queued up an anti-tank gun, and KP97 was already getting one from earlier, so a couple of counters are going to come through for that flak relatively soon, but not before that, the flak is just determined to make as much of his presence as possible known. And he's doing pretty well with that. I mean, doing some damage, but looks like he's going to get flanked by KP97. KP97, however, is just now getting anti-tank grenades, so that was more kind of a bluff to force away the flak than anything else because he didn't have any anti-tank grenades on his conscripts. That's still a pretty good play, though. It's forcing back the flak half-track, giving the Allies more time to set up defenses around the center. The north is, well, mostly secured by them. If they can get themselves situated in this area, that would be pretty good. Some mines are coming down. And KP97 picking the glorious Soviet industry. Obviously the best doctrine in the game, and yeah, that's gonna give him some good advantages on a map like Minsk Pocket later on, because the KV2 can cover, well, a very, very big portion of the map. Like, it can cover almost about half of the map with its extended range from having hold down. So the KV2 later on is not gonna be a bad choice. Also, I mean, KV flamethrowers never really all that bad, and the Allied supply drop, well, it's against 2 OKW, so I don't think they're gonna get much use out of it. Predictable incendiary grenade. Come on. Oh no, he's just gonna retreat, okay. And let the support gun deal with it, along with assault from Volksgrenadiers. Yeah, this is not the best possible thing. Of course, anti-tank gun making use of the now cheaper light artillery barrage, trying to get some kills on the machine gun, but unfortunately the anti-tank gun crew will now just go down to the Volksgrenadier horde. However, there are some units down here that can come in and help, and wow, they did not chase down the AT gun. Okay, no, they did kill it in the end, but still, there's some units over here from, of course, Doggy that can prevent this anti-tank gun from falling to enemy hands, I would think. KP97, you know, up north doesn't have the best of positions, and oh, hold on. Where are the other units? Oh, they're getting attacked. Okay, never mind. So they might be able to steal this. Yeah, and another you know, weapon stolen from the support weapon shop that is the Soviet army. And now the Germans are starting to look a lot better than they were just a few minutes ago. They're starting to get back into form, and if they can get some good harassment off on the north, and they can continue, you know, they can continue just, I guess, stealing support weapons from the Soviets and holding the front line, well, they're gonna have a pretty good time. Of course, Doggy is going for tier 3, and KP97, the famous glorious noob, is also going for tier 3. But I wonder if he's going to get anything out of it. He hasn't done that yet, so he might have only built that to get to tier 4. And to be honest, that Katyusha right now would be so good for the Soviets. I'm pretty sure it's obvious, and there's just a lot of targets for it. Mine is going to hit a few conscripts, so that's not the best thing ever. And with the Germans playing a relatively, I guess you could say, defensive playstyle, you know, it's not the most defensive thing I've ever seen, but they're playing relatively defensively. They haven't gone for anything too strange and out of the ordinary. They've got the battle quarters set up. They've got a lot of support weapons set up in the center. They're trying to defend that. And now they're going to have the Stuka that's going to get it's going to reveal himself relatively soon. I'm just going to leave him clicked on so that I know when he's firing. That moment is right now. And why does no one ever realize this? You should be careful when you place your Stuka near trees. In fact, mea culpa, because I did not realize that that was going to happen this far away from the trees. Like, okay, I would have thought if the Stuka was more like over here, it would have hit the trees. But the Stuka was actually more like here. So, yeah, I was not expecting that. Anyway, I'm not sure if the Allies heard that. I believe they did. But if they did, then that's pretty bad for the Germans, because this is going to have a pretty strong effect on them, because they know that there's a Stuka around. Nicely taken down that Maxim with the salvage. So now the Allies know that there's a Stuka around, so they're going to be more careful. However, as you can see, like, the Germans are very methodically and systematically taking down every Soviet support weapon that they see, either by stealing it or by salvaging it. This is definitely good, because it's weakening the Soviet defenses and the Soviet just forces in general. Su-76 on the field for KP97. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that decision. I guess it's okay. It's going to counter the flak half-track, and it's going to be useful against anything like Panzer IVs or something like it. And speaking of Panzer IVs, we do have the tier 4 coming in for Insane Hoshi. Mr. Jade Buddha does not have any tier 4 because he, of course, spent 100 fuel on that Stuka. And, of course, the Su-76 is also going to be relatively helpful with that light artillery barrage, a little bit like his, you know, not mechanized cousin over here, the anti-tank gun. And it's still a bit of a stalemate over the center. I mean, who could have thunk it? Minsk Pocket? Not Minsk Pocket. Road to Kharkov. What? I've been saying Minsk Pocket this entire time, have I? Still, Road to Kharkov. Very, you know, stalemate-y kind of a map, so... This is going to play into the hands of KP97's KV2, and possibly the ISU-152, of course, from Doggy Lols. The Germans also going for the big heavies. We have the JAGD, of course, Breakthrough Doctrine. But I wonder what Insane Hoshi is going to go for. Right now, the flak half-trick is, well, I'm not sure about its, life decisions. Here comes the Stuka on the south. It's going to hit some machine guns and actually almost wipe out one of them. But a nice dodge is going to save the other one. Of course, that's going to mean also the destruction, or at least the suppression of that guy, that Volksgrenadier squad. Su-76 moving up and destroying the flak half-truck while it was distracted. Unfortunately, it seems like it's going to go down. It hit this mine. Wait, no. What? This was a Soviet mine. Or, I guess, something made this mine explode, and that damaged the engine of the Su-76. Or maybe it was just a Panzerfaust. No, it wasn't a Panzerfaust. No. I think that the infantry ran over the mine, and that also damaged the Su-76. A couple of Panzerfausts coming in, but the T-34-76 to the rescue is going to come in, crush one of the Volksgrenadier squads, get around the anti-tank gun, utilizing the support of this conscript squad as a distraction, and crushing the anti-tank gun crew with just a massacring volley of the 76mm main gun. And right now, that's going to save the Su-76 and allow the Soviets probably to steal back this anti-tank gun or recapture this anti-tank gun back into motherlandish control. In the meantime, in the south, the Soviets are holding this VP rather nicely, actually, with the help of the immortal Maxim that managed to survive both the Volksgrenadier. Looks like they threw an incendiary grenade at it, look, you know, judging by the HP, and the Stuka barrage as well. And they're pushing up with their infantry, just pushing up the zone, their zone of control, their zone of vision, and making sure that the Germans know their presence. Of course, they're gonna need to try to hunt down the Stuka before it can do too much damage. They're gonna need to put as much pressure on the Germans as possible before they can get out something like a King Tiger or a JAGD. And right now they're doing that just fine. They're bringing up those guards, capturing points. As you can see, the map control now is in the favor of the Soviet Union. Of course, they're going to need to be careful not to lose any units in this. Oh, almost wiping out that Volksgrenadier squad. Unfortunate that he decided, you know, to survive and all of that. Triple cap about to come through for Cape 97. I don't think that the Soviets can hold the southern point for too much. With our Kennwerfers coming in, I think that this T-34 might just, you know, might just have to retreat, and then the Volksgrenadiers can flank around the machine gun. Still though, it's pretty good for the Soviets to be aggressive. In fact, it's necessary for them to be aggressive. And right now, Kip-97 has gone for Tier 4, so as expected. And I'm guessing that he's going to bring out a Katyusha. If his buddy over here, Doggy Lulz, is going for some T-34, 76s, and perhaps might go for Su-85s to complement with the ISU-152. Might just want to wait for the ISU-152, in fact, at this point. If he's going that, then Kip-97 might as well get a Katyusha and then wait for the KV-2. Although, he's also got the KV Flamer. I'm not sure. I think it would be a pretty bad idea to go with a KV Flamer right now. Because, you know, we're heading into the late game. But the KV Flamer does have its perks. And it would be very, very dangerous to the German infantry. And especially very, very dangerous if it starts to, well, have a, I guess, clear path to chase down enemy infantry. If it's got the leeway and the freeway to just chase after enemy troops as they're retreating, that thing is dangerous. Anyway, yeah, Stuka barrage, unfortunately, not really doing anything. I heard it say good hit, so it destroyed something, but it didn't. I don't know, whatever. So moving in with the Guards Riflemen, and of course the Su-76M. I'm not sure why he's keeping it off of prioritized vehicles. I really don't think it's gonna hit any infantry. Sneaky Raketenwerfers. Insane Hoshi not going for any Raketenwerfers is an interesting choice because, well, he does have one, but I don't know, it's kind of leaving him open. What if the Soviets really bring out something heavier when it comes to vehicles? He's going to be in trouble. I guess he's thinking that then he's going to have the time to get Raketenwerfers. Anyway, nice. These two Raketenwerfers sneaking up to T-34. T-34 has to escape. Will it go down? Yes, it will. Well done. Yeah, the Panzer IV is around for the Germans. Of course, Insane Hoshi went for one. And Jade Buddha does have Tier 4 at this point set up. But I'm not sure if he's going to get anything out of it. I think he might just be waiting for the JAGD and has the Tier 4 just as an additional help. Both in terms of AA, both in terms of just units that he can get. Of course, Obersoldaten are never that bad. He's got 4 units of infantry. IC-152 available for Doggy. Will he cancel the Katyusha and go for it? He does not have enough resources even if he cancels the Katyusha, but no, he's gonna wait to finish that ISU-152. And, not ISU-152, sorry, Katyusha. And that's, I believe, a good idea. Because the rocket launcher is gonna be very useful in many different roles, especially at dealing with everything that the Germans are kind of relying on. These are Raketenwerfers, the Stuka, the retreat point over here, although he does not actually have the retreat point still. The medics over here. Here comes the counter battery barrage of the Stuka, but it's actually not counter battery, it's aimed at the machine guns. Almost wipes out both of them. Unfortunately for the Germans, it's not going to be enough. Guards in the south starting to make their presence felt with their DP-28s and get some good damage off on these Volksgrenadiers. At this point, the Germans really need to try to get some better infantry on the field. Volksgrenadiers are doing quite well, but they're going to need something a little bit sturdier and better if they want to secure infantry dominance against guards, riflemen, and all of that. And of course, because of the fact that the Soviets have this many support weapons, another Katyusha barrage actually wipes out one of the Volksgrenadiers. So that's a pretty good first barrage. And yeah, also the Volksgrenadiers, they're pretty okay while vetted up, but if you start losing them, losing your vetted up squads, then, well, the next times you're going to be fighting, you might, might have replaced them with non-vetted Volksgrenadiers, and those aren't nearly as effective. Insane Hoshi also realizing this and going for an Obersoldaten squads, I think that's a very good choice. But he's going to need to be careful, of course, because there's Katyusha on the field for the enemy. He probably can realize that there's two of them, because he has just gotten, barraged 2 times by Katyusha. So he's going to need to be very careful about his Obersoldaten placement. Keep them in the open so that their formation is spread out and they don't just get wiped out by one rocket. And yeah, if all of that is done, then the Obersoldaten are going to be very effective, of course, with their light machine guns. Against conscripts, it's just very, very easy for them to crush. Here comes a nice grenade. It's going to wipe out that... Wait. What? I might have forgotten to change the bundle grenades in a patch, but I'm pretty sure the bundle grenades used to destroy... Oh, right. That was 2 patches ago. That was the change to, like, the grenade explosive type. It's now light explosives or something, so it can't really do as much damage to buildings, right? Because I'm used to those kind of small wooden buildings collapsing in one grenade, and, yeah. Maxim machine gun falling to the combination of Stuka rockets and Panzer IV 75mm main gun, actually destroying the machine gun as well. So once again, the Germans very nicely denying the Allies the use of their destroyed or decrewed support weapons, destroying them. And that's very, very good because it's forcing the Soviets to either purchase them again or do without them. And of course, heading into the late game, both of these options are going to be, well, not as easy at all, because if you do without support weapons, you're not going to be able to hold territory. If you buy them again, you're going to be short of manpower, as Doggy is right now. He's got 3 minutes of manpower to the IC-152, but he's being bled right now pretty heavily. Kipper-97, not as much, and he's heading towards the KV-2. He also went for a T-34. Not sure about this. I mean, there's a couple of P4s on the field. There's a lot of Raketenwerfers. And again, Minsk Pocket isn't really one of those maps where you can make some, masterful maneuvers. So, T-34 is not going to have a lot of opportunities for flanking. It's going to be under the fire of AT guns most of the time. And yeah, overall, I'm not sure if this is a good idea. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's a bad one. Especially considering that he could have saved the resources and gotten a KV-2. Amazing light artillery barrage. Takes out the Obersoldaten. That's exactly what I was talking about with. You have to be very careful with Obersoldaten because, yeah, unless you keep them out in the open where their formation is going to be spread out, and it's hard to do that while you're microing everything, they're probably just going to get blown up by artillery or, a tank gun or something. And unfortunately, that was a 400 manpower, 400 manpower clump of guys. So, in the meantime, well, of course, the VP game is still even, just completely even, and the map control is still relatively even as well. I mean, we've got exactly the same resource income for both the Germans and the Allies. So, yeah, this just kind of speaks to how even this game is. And yeah, the Germans, they spent some fuel for Panzer IVs, but they still have the better late game, of course. And if they can make use of that, then the late game shouldn't be that much of a problem with them. The Allies right now have artillery superiority at 2 Katyusha against a Stuka, but the Stuka can be deadly as well in its own right. So it's not like they have overwhelming superiority in terms of that. In terms of armor, yeah, right now the Germans have the advantage, but if the Soviets get out this ISU-152 and the KV-2, they're going to be temporarily stronger, of course, until the JAGD comes on the field and kind of ruins their hopes and dreams. This is a good purchase. This is a very good purchase, especially considering what, how much of a stalemate this game is. The map Hackswagen over here is going to be very, very strong at providing intelligence to the Germans. However, good push for the infantry over here from JAGD. He's not following up with the armor, though. Where's the Panzer IVs? One of the Panzer forces coming in, it's not his. The other one is not even repaired. So unfortunately, lack of engineers, it seems, coming in and, you know, kind of munching on the Germans' butthole. And pretty good wipe on the Volksgrenadiers. Looks like Stuka will not get that much damage dealt. Yeah, both of the sides starting to get a little fatigued in terms of micro, not as perfect as it was before, and losing that Volksgrenadier squad is pretty bad for JAGD Buddha, but he can replace that. I mean, he's got Panzer Fusiliers with Breakthrough Doctrine, of course, so he can get some pretty good infantry that doesn't even need that much veterancy to work, unlike the Volksgrenadiers. However, yeah, the guards will still be a little superior to anything that he can get. Nice grenades, almost wipes out the Volksgrenadier squad, but, you know, the harassment on the southern VP is going to be fine. The Germans, though, have started to take the advantage in support weapons, partially because they were able to deny the Allies what they have, and partially because they stole them, partially because they built a lot of them. So now it's relatively hard for the Allies to advance with infantry and capture points and get map control. So this is also part of, you know, the whole stalemate situation. But the stalemate breakers are coming in, especially this ISU-152. As you can see, very, very strong against the enemy armor, even stronger against the enemy infantry. So if the ISU-152 can be used correctly, it's going to have a nasty, nasty impact. And actually, these Raketenwerfers took a pot shot at the ISU-152, and one of them is going to be neutralized by the 152mm main gun, and I think the Soviets might try to steal this thing. Here comes a Katyusha barrage on some empty wood. However, now that the Germans have the map hacks, they can see everything over here. So this is going to provide with the Stuka especially, and with the LEFH howitzer, fortifications doctrine picked by Insane Hoshi, and with the LEFH howitzer, you know, a lot of intelligence, a lot of ways to aim these barrages a lot better, as evidenced by this first barrage. Takes down the anti-tank gun, almost takes down the Maxim machine gun, only survives because of RNG, really. So that's, of course, very strong. Right now, not just the ISU-152 is on the field, but the other big hitter for the Soviets, it is the KV-2, the strongest tank in the universe. Period. And yeah, he's just kind of billowing out smoke, and if you can park this thing in a good spot, which right now might be this one, actually. If you park it right over here, it's gonna have enough range to reach over the center, or maybe, well, I mean, literally the center would be a little exposed, to be honest. Maybe you could park it something like, I feel like this or this are the best spots right now for it. Still, if it can park itself in a good spot and, you know, activate that sit-down mode, it's going to just have such strong firepower. And the ability to also kind of turn away both enemy infantry and vehicles is, of course, quite good for the Soviets, because they do kind of lack in versatility on their mainline units. Right now, the not the T-34, the KV-2 is going to be supported by the T-34 and the Katyusha. So a couple of pretty good units. What the Soviets are lacking is AT, just, you know, raw AT in terms of anti-tank guns. Well, I mean, okay, no, they do have anti-tank guns. I'm actually wrong. What they're lacking is tank destroyers, but we'll see. We'll see if they need that. Right now, it seems like, yeah, they're trying to build a Pak 43, which is an interesting choice behind these trees. We'll see. KV-2, of course, is relatively vulnerable to the LEFH artillery, because the artillery can kind of barrage this thing, and when it's on hold-down mode, it can't really escape. You know, it takes a while for this thing to set up and unset up. Also, I believe it's counted as artillery, so if the LEFH reaches VET 2, I believe, no, VET 1, it gets the counter barrage. So I think this thing kind of just counters the KV-2, because, you know, anytime it fires, it's going to get fired back at. Zeroing artillery, no, that's actually, sorry, assault artillery. Yeah, I was saying, why is the zeroing artillery doing absolutely nothing? It turns out it's actually an assault artillery. And, ooh, a wipeout on a Volksgrenadier? I think that was a Volksgrenadier. Yeah, must have been. I see the pajamas. So, ISU-152 really showing its superiority, and the Axis, I've noticed, didn't go for the Jagdtiger. They went for a Jagdpanzer. That's a very, very bad decision, in my opinion, because now with the KV-2 and the ISU-152 on the field, it's pretty clear that they need the Jagdtiger to counter these big Soviet tanks. And the Jagdpanzer 4 is not going to be enough because its penetration is not nearly as strong as it needs to be to reliably deal with the KV-2 and the ISU-152. And especially with the ISU-152, the ISU-152 can actually fire back relatively well, whereas with the, with the Jagdtiger, the ISU-152 is in bad shape. It would be screwed. It would be screwed, and it wouldn't have really the capacity to trade blow for blow with the Jagdtiger, because Jagdtiger pops up, shoots, deals 1/4 of the ISU-152's HP, then the ISU-152 tries to fire back, but oh look, it's on HE, it needs to switch to armor piercing, maybe it does not penetrate, there's a lot of factors that can go wrong with it. There goes the Panzer IV actually. Well done, capturing this this anti-tank gun just in time. In the center, the Germans are trying to push up, and the Soviets have put up a bit of a blockade with this infantry squad trying to prevent this. In the north, nice usage of that bunker to prevent the Soviets from harassing that northern VP. That's pretty great. But other than this, it seems like the Soviets slowly but surely are getting some good units that can work together in stalemates and attrition out the Germans. Of course, the Germans also have some good tools for this kind of situation, and they're using them well. Of course, Jagdpanzer, not shy. I mean, it's not as good as the Jagdtiger, but it's also able to put some dents into this Soviet armor. Panzer IVs, the ones that are still alive, are okay, but really the big hitters are the PaK-43 and especially the LEFH artillery. The LEFH artillery is going to be very strong at kind of stemming the massive artillery superiority that the Soviets have. And right now, as you can see, they're getting some good counter-battery fire on the Katyusha, kind of preventing them from firing at will. Here comes also some Stuka barrage. Of course, with the help of the infrared half-track, the Axis artillery, despite the fact that there's only 2 Axis artillery pieces, whereas the Allies have, I believe, 3? No, what happened to Doggy Low's Katyusha? Probably just died somewhere. I don't know. I don't see a corpse anywhere. Still, actually they're even, and despite being even, they're going to be superior, the Germans, because, of course, they know where the enemies are all the time. So this is why this map axe is just so strong, and it's only 205 manpower and 5 fuel. No, 200 manpower and 5 fuel. So, yeah, it's cheap, it's very, very strong, always get this thing. Well, maybe not always, but most of the times get this thing, especially if the game turns out to be relatively stalematey, if it takes a long time to resolve, your grievances with the enemy. But there's still the problem of how they're going to deal with the ISU-152. And the Germans really need to think about this thing, because the ISU-152 and the KV-2, yeah, they're both going to have a massive, massive impact. Especially when it comes to their infantry. I mean, look at this. JAGD is down to 2 Volksgrenadier squads and 1 Panzer Fusilier plus 1 Sturmpile, so that's 4 infantry squads. Let's check out this Stuka barrage. It just barely misses, although it wipes out an engineer squad. That's actually the last engineer squad for Doggy Lols. He's going to have to build up some more. In fact, I would probably build 2, just to help keep this thing repaired, because the Soviet engineers are not really the brightest at repairing. They're pretty slow. And, I mean, you can try, I guess, to rely on the repair stations of your Soviet industry ally, but it's never that good of an idea, because what if they just get barraged and destroyed? Anyway, actually, the Guards Riflemen captured a Raketenwerfer. That's very strong. 4 Guards Riflemen, crewing a Raketenwerfer, that's pretty hard to deal with, even with infantry. Like, they're going to put up some firepower with those Mossens. They have the elite Mossen, which means that they're more effective than the normal conscripts at firing with their rifles. And yeah, it's pretty bad for any unit that encounters them. And yeah, the KV-2, of course, doing its own thing. So I was talking about the... Is that going to blow up the mine? Are they trying to... No, they were not trying to demine over there. Mine sweep. Mine removal. I don't know. I don't know the exact term anymore. Diffuse the mines. Right. it's been a while since I played CS:GO, so the word diffuse has gone out of my, instinctively gone out of my vocabulary. Anyway, we have a couple of Jagdpanzers. The second Jagdpanzer. I think this is a big mistake from JAGD. I mean, he's playing with the breakthrough doctrine. He does not need to go with Jagdpanzers just galore, especially when the enemy has, you know, ISU 152s and KV2s. Oh, this is where the Katyusha died, by the way. I just recognize it. Yeah, because these things, like, they can't deal with the Jagdtiger. And while the Jagdtiger normally might be something like overkill to deal with some of the Soviet armor, like the T-34s, sometimes with Su-85s as well, Su-76s, the Jagdtiger is a little overkill for those. But with the ISU 152 and the KV2, I mean, the Jagdtiger just outranges them, outguns them, you know, armors them. It's got better protection. So it's just a counter. It's just a flat counter. Whereas they do the same to the Jagdpanzer. They outgun them and they have better protection. So it's really kind of a weird situation where the player with the tools to deal with this is not breaking those tools out, and instead he's using the subpar version. That would be like, okay, if you were going with the fortifications doctrine and we're faced with something like this, yes, I would go with some Jagdpanzers, especially since it's Minsk pocket and it's not like Panthers are going to have a chance to really flank these ISUs or the KV2 or something like that. So, yeah, it's pretty okay to go with that. But if you have the Jagdtiger, might as well go for the Jagdtiger. Of course, Insane Hoshi is thinking big as well, and he's got the KT. KT instantly taking a damaged engine, actually. Might not be the best thing. And is that a L2 precision bombing strike on the King Tiger? Yes, it is. Massive amounts of damage being delivered, and the Su-152 is coming in. Does he have armor piercing loaded? No, he does not. He's got HE loaded, and he does not have the vision required to fire at the KT. KT is going to try to escape back to base. Su-152 being very aggressive, actually, and pushing up against the Schwer Panzer headquarters. Is there anything that can deal with this? Of course there is. There's the Pak-43, which was decrewed earlier, but now it's recrewed again, and now it's going to put up a massive barrage of steel against the ISU-152. KV-2 is trying to protect the ISU from a flank from this Panzer IV Aus-J, and it's doing a pretty good job at that, but the problem is the Su-85 is going to die to these Jagdpanzers, and that's going to expose the rear of this ISU-152. But the ISU-152 masterfully gets around and faces the frontal armor to the Panzer IV, which is going to save it. Of course, the Su-85 might die anyway, but the Panzer IV will go down to the KV-2, and the Germans, I believe, lost that engagement rather badly. They're going to need a while to repair their KT. They're going to need, you know, they're going to need something to, you know, put these Jagdpanzers to use, because it's not like they can do anything now that the enemy tanks are not there. So they can't use these Jagdpanzers to exploit their breakthrough. The infantry try to come in, but the Soviet artillery is going to turn them back, and the rest of the map, at least at the sort of middle dividing line, is under Soviet control. So the Soviets are getting the VP Sicket bleed that they're requiring. If they can deal with this bunker in some way, then they're also going to have the Northern VP, so that's going to mean a triple cap. And right now, yeah, here comes the Stuka barrage in anger in return for what the Katyusha has been doing. Actually hits the Katyusha straight on with a rocket, which is, well, normally it results in the death of the Katyusha, but luckily for it, it survived. It wiped out a Raketenwerfer, but look at this, the Stuka is up to 57 kills with 4 veterancy. Actually, the KT is back already. Yeah, that's the power of the Sternpaus plus the automatrons. So, yeah, I guess the Germans, the OKW, showing the superiority of their repairs. But at this point, with the KV and the ISU-152 still alive and the Panzer IV being dead, the KT is going to be relatively alone. It's got these 2 Jagdpanzers that can help it, but it's short of infantry support and of anti-infantry support. Look at this. There's only a couple of Volksgrenadiers for Insane Hoshi, and JAGD, well, he does have some infantry squads still around, but is he going to use them correctly to protect the KT? Well, we'll see. Actually, there's a Su-85 on the field for Cape 97. So he has decided, sorry, to stop going with the D-34-76s to support his KV. which is, I guess, a pretty decent idea. And right now, it seems like the repair stations are getting shelled. Pretty decent idea. I mean, at this point, the T-34s are really not going to have the best of times. And, yeah. Wow. Look at that, ISU-152. And it looks like the Germans are going to make a big push. Are going to try their hand at trying to break the Soviets one more time. Of course, the KV-2 is up here with the pocket over here, and the ISU-152 is down here. The ISU-152 right now is facing the brunt of the carnage, that being these Jagdpanzers and the KV, no, not the KV, the KT. And right now, the Katyusha is going to die, unfortunately. Wait, they didn't see it, or they missed, or something. And right now, the ISU-152 is going to have enough time to escape. Nice, massive barrages are actually going to hit these German tanks, and right now it seems like massive damage is coming through from the Su-85 and the KV-2, but the KV-2 is being turned back by the Pak-43. Sorry. So obviously the KT is going to be saved by the Pak-43 once again. The Pak-43 is up to vet 3, so that's okay for it. And can they cap this? No, because there's a couple of Sturmpiles in the same area. Damn. And finally, the Pak-43 is on the receiving end of a Katyusha barrage. Wipes it out yet again, and finally wipes out the gun as well. So good. That opens up the center to Soviet armor. So the Soviets are now able to put their KV-2s and Su-85s and all of that in the center. That's a big, big turnaround, actually, because earlier on, their tactical options were very limited by the existence of that Pak-43. Now that the Pak-43 is dead, well, obviously that criteria is not met anymore. So they can just kind of send in their guys. Right now, it seems like the LAFH artillery does have counter barrage on. And I think the counter barrage counters... No, it's just firing here. Whatever. I don't know. I don't even know anymore. Still, in the north, the Soviets are capturing the northern VP. They managed to somehow, force away the German troops that were here. And now... Yep, despite the bunker, they're able to capture the VP. Triple cap is abound, so the Germans have 2 minutes left before they die. Let's see how they spend these 2 minutes. They need to try to find some way to at least hold 1 point, because they have 100 VPs. That's not that much, but if they can hold at least 1 point, they're going to have an well, not an advantage, but at least a chance to come back into this. Right now, as you can see, the Volksgrenadiers trying their best to hold the south, but the Germans just don't have the infantry anymore, the forces as a whole, to push up. The Soviets just have too strong of a defensive front with the ISU-152, with the support weapons, with the Su-85, with the KV-2. And really, the lack of the Jagdtiger is being felt right now, because on a map like Minsk Pocket, this map is relatively open. There's not really that many places to hide the KV-2 or the ISU-152 if the Jagdtiger wants to shoot at them. Like, there's no real places to hide for these things. So they would have to either be a lot more aggressive than they are right now. Of course, that would be not as effective. Or they would just have to sit there and take it. And that's exactly what the Germans are being forced to do, and you can see the results. So if the Allies were the ones that were being forced to sit down and take it, in very, very vague terms, I feel like this game would have gone a lot different. So for once, you should have bought the Jagdtiger. For once, I'm for the Jagdtiger rather than against it. Yeah, I feel like that's really the biggest mistake that the Germans made. They not go for that big giant tank destroyer to counter the Su-152 and the KV-2, because the Su-152 and the KV-2 were the perfect cornerstones around which the rest of the Soviet defenses were set up, because they drew the German attention, they did a lot of damage, and because they drew the German attention, it's not like they were able to devote as much time or resources to deal with just the spam of machine guns and anti-tank guns that were just constantly creeping up. The Soviets eventually got infantry superiority because the Soviets had a couple of Katyusha that were putting some very nice barrages off on the German infantry, and eventually they killed the German infantry, so the Soviets have infantry superiority. And yeah, eventually that just kind of all came back around full circle. Where's the KV-2? It's kind of helping, kind of not though. T-34 goes down. ISU-152 is in trouble, probably gonna die at this point, but I mean, 13 VPs left. It's actually not gonna die. They might kill these Katyusha. Yeah, one of them goes down. But again, 7 VPs. There's no infantry left on the field for the Germans. I mean, they might decap the southern one. No, they will not even. And the triple cap will be completed. So, well done to the Soviet players. They built up the core of their army around these two nice units. And they were able to just solidly work off of that. Whereas the Germans, unfortunately, just didn't have, I guess, the tools required to deal with the two big units, and then they just couldn't deal with the other ones as well because they were just distracted by the big KV2, big IC-152, and all of that. And yeah, in the end, unfortunately for the Germans, the result was rather predictable. This map is Minsk Pocket, so you can't really do that much with flanking maneuvers, can't really do that much with infantry in the late game. You're going to really need to have the superiority when it comes to the big, giant tanks, and the artillery as well doesn't hurt. Although, to be fair, the German artillery did pretty well for itself. It was not enough. So, thank you all for watching. I hope you've enjoyed, and I will see you soon. Deutschland.